Hello everyone. Welcome to today's video. My name is Lucas, and today we're going to be talking about migrating a website from Webflow to Framer, right? So a lot of you here in the no-code community, in the Framer community, know about Webflow, right? I used to work a lot with Webflow. I used to design and work a lot with Webflow developers back maybe 3 years ago, I would say. Making a lot of projects. Webflow is a pretty good tool, but it has its limits in terms of design flexibility, right? You have to have a stronger technical or logical kind of mindset to build with Webflow in comparison to building with Framer, right? Framer is more designer friendly. If you're coming from a design background and you're good at Figma, for example, you can easily learn Framer in an easier way than Webflow, right? So today, whether you are a freelancer that just started off learning Webflow, or you are an agency owner that has multiple sites in Webflow, maybe one of your clients wants to move to Framer, or if you're a business and your whole website is built in Webflow and you want to migrate from Webflow to Framer, this video is for you. So we're going to go ahead and use a Webflow project that I have, which is basically this Fortress free template that I copied to my Webflow dashboard. And this is the perfect template because it's, has quite a few pages, is for this home construction niche, which is pretty cool, and has a content management system, a CMS, that I also want to show you guys how to transfer a CMS from Webflow to Framer in this video. So we're going to go from this template, which is over here, right into our Framer project, right? So if that's interesting for you guys, stick around and let's get started. Now, before you transfer your website from Webflow to Framer, I think it's quite important to know the structure of your website, right? And this comes with understanding the sitemap. And there are free tools out there. I use this one called XML sitemaps.com. And you can see I added the preview link of this Webflow project into this website, and it generated a full sitemap. So I have a kind of overview of the different pages that need to be transferred, right? So this is quite important because I would say this is the first step that you would have to do, that you would have to take, in order to transfer your website, because here you would have a full understanding of what pages have to be added, and so you don't miss anything in the migration, right? And once we have that understood, we can go ahead and start the migration process, which is pretty straightforward. It's transferring the actual static site to Framer, right? There are going to be some issues you're going to see in the beginning, but I'll tackle that once we get there. But basically, we want to use this plugin called Framer, HTML to Framer, right? And you can find that in the Chrome extensions marketplace, HTML to Framer. And what you do is you just go and you can basically copy certain things. I'm holding down Shift as I am clicking these different sections. So actually, let me start again. I'm going to go here, copy, 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 make sure that copy, copy, right? And then copy, copy. So we want to make sure that these different sections that are blue are getting, when something is, as I hover over a certain section, it's turning blue, right? So copy. So now we have 10 different items and we can bring it to Framer. So before I bring it to Framer, what I want to do is I actually want to make sure that the different breakpoints are set, because I like to design responsively at the same time. So I'm going to press paste, boom. And as you can see, the width of my desktop frame, well, first of all, it worked. There are a few things that are not quite there yet, right? As I told you, it's not going to be perfect, but it's working, right? At least we have something. Now, there is a few things that we have to notice in the beginning. Before the width was 1200. If I'm going Command Z, if I'm undoing, it's 1200. And if I redo, it's 1440. And honestly, I want to keep it at 1200. I don't want to have it at 1440. So I'm just going to go like that, keep it at 1200. And what I want to do as well is I want to make this frame, this desktop frame, I want to make it a layout, right? So not everything is going to be, you know, relative to this main layout. And this is going to be quite complicated at first because, you know, the structure kind of breaks, but we have to do this. This is the most important part of making our website responsive. If I were to press play and I go like this right now, it's not really responsive. You know, it's all like at a fixed width, I would say. You know, this is looking not so nice, and so on and so forth. We're also missing this image, which is normal. We just have to add it afterwards. But yeah, let's first off make this like this, give this a layout, and then we're going to start seeing different things. So this particular, this is going to be like the nav bar. So we can actually move this away for now. I want to see how this looks like at the very top. At the very top, we're actually going to need this Fortress and Co section, and I'm going to copy that and bring this to Framer and put this at the very top. So let me see where it is right now, actually. I believe it's this, if I'm not mistaken. Let me put it at the very top. And as you can see, things are getting hidden at the bottom. That's because the size of this is, the height is set to fit content. And again, let's make sure that this is set to 1200. Perfect. This guy we can move over here. And now we can start making things a little bit more responsive. So we have Chrome, and we can start analyzing certain things, right? Everything here has a type of padding. I would say about 20 pixels padding. So I'm going to remove this, and I'm going to increase the size of this. And it has a 20 pixel padding, but it stays put in the middle. Like as I increase the size of the browser, there's more white space on the sides. But as I increase it, then as I decrease the width, you can start seeing that the padding stays constant, like at a 20 pixel rate over here, right? So let's just keep that in mind. Let me go back to Framer, and what we need to do is let's just start to add stacks to everything. So this is going to be a stack. This is going to be like the nav, not the nav bar. It's going to be the top bar, and we want this to be stacked like this, and we want it to be set to fill. And as you can start seeing, it's looking better. At least for the top bar, you can see that it's all, you know, on all screens at the same type of position, right? Then we have this section, which is this frame. And I don't even know what we have here. We have this frame that's rounded with the contact, okay? This would be a button. So we can add a layout to this. So every time we see a frame, let's just add a layout to it. And let's put this stack into here, which is this frame. And let's put this into here as well. And let's make sure that this is also a stack by creating a layout. Let's put things on the bottom, and let's put them space between, right? And now we have this stack. We don't even need this frame anymore. We have this nice stack. And this stack can have a certain padding. If we go to the top, about 20 pixels, maybe 40 in the bottom. And go back to Framer. Let's go 20. And then from the bottom, a little bit more, 40. I actually like it if it was all maybe like 30, right? Okay. And actually we do need that extra stack because we wanted to have that little padding on the side, right? So go back to Framer. Let's make sure that this is in its own stack, and let's call this hero, and let's call this one image. And this image is going to have a rounded radius on the sides. And this hero is going to have a little bit of a padding, about 20 pixels, right? So we can already start seeing that it's looking good here. We want this to be, this is the next step. We don't want things to be fixed with, we want it to be fill. Right? So that's good. So we have that for the tablet. For the phone, it's going to look like this. It's going to look a little bit wacky, but you can just end up doing something like this. I have to see at the end how it really looks like in the phone in this project. Okay, it looks somewhat like this. We can adjust that later. Now comes the next part. So the next part is going to be, we go to Framer, and we have this text section. So as you can start seeing, these are looking correct. This top bar and this hero section are stacks, and they're not frames, right? You scroll as you scroll underward, as you scroll to down, you can see that there are different frames everywhere, and that's no go. We want things to be stacked with each other. So we have a hero with an image, and inside this image we have a text with a button stack. That's looking great, and we can even call this button, right? Eventually we're going to do components, but that time is not yet. We're still creating the transfer of the static page, right? So next thing is this text. So let's add this to a stack. Boom, this stack is added. We want this to not be fixed, we want it to be fill, and we want this stack to be, give it a padding of about, what was it? About 30, let's say. And then on the top and bottom, we can add some more, maybe like 120. And as you can see, there's like a little gap here. And so we want to remove that. Let's just go to desktop and put 0. Beautiful. And look how it looks like in the different sizes, right? It's looking really good. Now, what do we have here? Featured projects. It's not really a button, it's a title. So let's just keep that in mind. And these are going to be, this is like a grid, right? 2 columns, 2 rows. And if I were to scroll downwards, eventually it's going to stack into one stack going vertically. So right now we have these different images, sorry, and we're going to call this one, so this is going to be a stack, and we want this to fit the content, and we want this to be a stack, perfect, and we want this to be fill, and we want this stack to eventually be part of a section, right? We're going to call this the title stack. And so now we have to see, this image has this badge, and it has this title. And if I were to click on this, you can start seeing that it says project, and then it has this title. So what does that mean? That means that this is a CMS, that this is CMS content. So it's not going to easily be, you know, image and title and, you know, in a static basis. It's going to be a CMS collection. So that is something important to realize here. Anyways, I was looking at this little line. Okay, so this little line down here, if I were to go here, okay, we have a border at the top. That's what I was wondering as well. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to migrate the CMS collection, right? So we have this project collection in Webflow. So these are the different products. And if I go to my Webflow project over here, I'm going to look for my CMS. And I am not a Webflow expert, to be very honest with you, but I'm going to search for it. It should be somewhere. Here it is. This is the CMS icon. And we have 8 different products. So we have different other CMS collections like articles and sectors. But in this case, for this tutorial, let's just stick with one, and it's going to be these projects. So what we want to do is we want to click on export. If I click on export, we get this, you know, nice CSV file, and we want to go back to Framer, go on collections, go to plus, and I'm going to just, well, let's go back here, and let's click on import. And then we can do CSV import, upload CSV, and I'm going to upload this fortress template thing. And I can start seeing, and it's uploading, but it's not really showing me everything, right? So this is problematic, right? Now, if you open this CSV file in, let's say, Google Sheet, like I am doing, you can wonder why it's not importing correctly. And the reason why it's not importing correctly is because of the titles. So we have different, if we go back to Framer, you can see that the slug is being imported correctly. And this isn't. So let's go back to Chrome, and we want to call this title. So boom, title would be this column right here. We have the slug, then we have created and edited. So I'm going to go back here, and we're going to put created, and then we're going to put here edited. And let's go back over here and see what other types of fields we can add. So we have image, we have date. So I'm going to put, for this publish, I'm going to put date. For this, we're going to discard this for now, but you could eventually use this. This is the thumbnail. Let's see how this would look like. Okay. And what's the difference between the thumbnail and this one? It's the same. So we don't really need this. We can call this one image. And then what we can do is we can create a new thing. So we go back to Framer, we have plain text, and we have formatted text. And we have, let me see. So we can maybe call this plain text, just to see an example. Or not this address, we don't really need this. Let me just refresh. We can call this plain text. And we can call this one, if we go back to Framer, formatted text. Formatted text. Boom. And then these are going to be images, right? So we can also call this image. We can also call this image just to kind of see how this would look like. But the whole point of this is just for you to know that, we have to format this in a way that Framer understands what they are getting. So let's download this as a CSV. We have a new CSV. Let's go back to Framer and let's remove this. Delete. And then what we want to do is we want to import a new CSV import, upload. And then click on this new one, open. And now we start seeing more things. So the first thing that I notice is that the image is still not here. We have the title, but we don't have the image. What is wrong here? Maybe it's because these things are still set to image 3, image 2. So maybe it's because of that. Let's try again. So I'm going to export CSV and go back to Framer, delete this, import CSV. Let's see if it works. And still no image. So I'm quite curious to see why it's not exporting. There should be some type of issue here. Maybe it has to do with because it's not an image and it's a how would you call it? A link. So maybe what we can do is just try to see, okay, it's a link. Maybe that might solve our issue. Let's try to export this again as a CSV and go back to Framer and delete, import, CSV, upload, and which one is our latest one? This one. Still no luck. Now another alternative, instead of importing a CSV, is that we can import Google Sheets. And we can go ahead and type Google Sheets. Let's put in, what's the collection called again? Projects. So let's just type projects, create, and then it's going to ask to sync. I'm going to go back to Chrome, click here, make this anyone with the link, copy, and go back to Framer, paste, and choose this one. And then now we can start seeing title. So the select field is going to be linked to this title. Perfect. This is going to be a string. Perfect. Collection, we don't need. Locale ID, we might need. Item ID. Created would be a date. Edited would also be a date. Date would be a date. Sector would be, well, we don't really need that, but eventually if you want to import more things, you can choose something like this. Link, image, street, string, plain text, which is what we named. I think the city would be string, client string, architect string, image, paragraph. Okay, so for these formatted text, we want to put formatted text. So paragraph, formatted text. This is where we can basically change some things. So featured Boolean, I guess. I don't know what the featured is, and published. Let's go back. True, false, published, date. You can put as date. And then import and see how that works. And this should work better, just that the dates aren't quite, importing so well, which is no problem. We have the different images. This is going in a good direction. So let's dismiss this and let's go ahead and delete these images over here. Everything from over here we can kind of select and delete. And what I want to do is I want to add a CMS collection. So I'm going to add the projects underneath this title stack, and I'm going to make this project set to fill. And while we're at it, just select these two, add a stack, and put projects, and add the same type of padding everywhere as the other one. So we want something like 30, and we would want some type of gap. For the title, I would say, actually for this, 10%. Yeah, let's remove this and let's put it to the stack on the top. So border 10%, and 1 at the top. So let's go down and top 1. Now it's starting to look more like it. Perfect. And then with this, we have a limit to 4, and we can start styling this in a specific way that looks more like what we have in Webflow. So here you would have to, style this again. If the migration wouldn't be so standard, that's no problem. We can go ahead and try to do that. So what we have to do is go back to Framer and just notice a few things. We have the date. Let me actually take a screenshot of this. We have the city at the top left, the image here, and then the name, the title at the bottom. So let's put this like this. Let's make sure that it is set to something like this. Maybe we want a grid of 2 columns. Perfect. And we want the image to be set to fill. And we want the image to have a specific height, maybe around 200, 300-ish. Maybe 350, 400 looks good. And let's give it like some type of border or radius, something like 20. And then we have the title here on the bottom. Let's remove this tag. Let's make it like this. And let's make sure that it's left aligned, like so. Oh, and let's link this to the title. My bad. Okay, and we want to make this, you know, a little bit larger, maybe 24 pixels, something like that. Yeah, looks more like it. All right, now we have this image. We want this image to have a layout because we want something to go inside of this image. And let's just duplicate this title and bring it in here. And as you can see, now we have this little title. And we don't want it to link to the title. We want it to link to the location. So street location, no, we want it to link to plain text, which should be the city, but I renamed it here to plain text by accident a while back right here. Yeah. So going back to Framer, we have this. This has to be in its own stack, right? That's going to be fit to content, have a little bit of padding, boom, have a white fill, give a little bit more padding on the right and left. So something like 16, and have a nice radius, like 30, and put it on the top and start. So now it's already in the corner. We just have to apply some padding to our card, and boom, we have it. So we have San Francisco, New York, Austin, Texas, Houston, Texas, the names, perfect. It's looking great. And that's exactly how you would insert the CMS into your static page from Webflow to Framer. And what you'd have to do here is just make sure that it's set to a stack going downwards and that everything is set to fill. So let's make sure that all of these cards are set to fill. So these are set to fill. Let's make sure that these are set to fill because right now they're set to fit. So beautiful, fill. And now it's starting to look more like it, right? I'm really liking how it's heading towards. Okay. All right, so let's just continue with the rest. So let's move away from the Google Sheets and let's go back to our project. So over here, we have this video and then we have this why us. And actually before that, let's just apply this little button, make sure that it is not a frame, but a stack. And eventually, like I said before, we're gonna make this, we're gonna create a component out of this, right? So let's get this on the bottom 120, top 120, boom. So we have some nice space everywhere. Okay. All right, and now what do we have here? Okay, we have this frame with these other frames in here. And where's our video? I think we lost it, right? It's nowhere to be found. But that's no problem because we can just go ahead and create a new one. Anyways, you can't really transfer video from the web, like from Webflow to Framer directly. You have to create a new video section, and you just do it by going like this, boom, and it's here. And you just got to format it in the style that you want. But before that we do that, let's just create the layouts for everything. So this is going to have its layout. Then if we go in here, everything is going to be set to fill, right? So fill. This is going to have its own layout. This is going to have its own layout. And before we see, okay, everything's going to be kind of left aligned. And the text is going to be further apart from the top two. So it's something to keep in mind. But let's just add these layouts. Okay, so now everything has its layouts. These two are going to be horizontally stacked. So we're going to have to add a cards stack and then card and card. And the card stack would go like this, boom. And this stack would be set to fit content. And this one as well, fit the content. And we're going to add some padding, I guess. Let's see, it's about 20, 30 pixels-ish. So Framer, click on this, add some padding, boom. And Now we want to just bring this in here, and this video and this stack are gonna also have its own stack. This is gonna have a fill, and this stack is gonna be what? The same type of padding as here, which is 30. So let's put like 30, boom. And I believe this video also has rounded edges, okay? And they're both 50-50%, like 50% relative to each other in terms of this. So that's something good to know. So we're just gonna put this as fill, perfect. And this is gonna be set to fill. And this is gonna be set to fill. And this is gonna be set to fill. So now everything is gonna be set to fill, right? Because before it was set to fixed. I mean, it kind of collapsed while I was formatting everything. This has a radius of what, 32? Let's drop it down a notch to 20. And let's keep this at the same type of radius, so 20, boom. Give everything a fill width. Let's put everything left aligned. And then these two are gonna be its own stack. Left aligned, and here this is going to be space between, and we're going to have some padding of around 20. And since we already completed this, I don't want to do the extra work. Let's just duplicate this, and we can just copy the text what we had, right? So copy and copy paste. Beautiful. Okay, so that's it for this. And you'd have to add your own video. Right now it's just looking like this, but you know, just have to add your own video at the end. Let's reduce the padding up here. So it's around 60. That's looking good. So same here, let's put 60. And I don't know how this is gonna look. Okay, this is gonna be kind of in the same section. And it's gonna be title, button, and then the cards underneath. Okay. Let's do that. So this is going to be an image. These are the different things. This is the main stack. So we have these cards, stack. Okay, so this guy is going to be a stack. And we're going to put it in the same parent stack as this one. But before that, we're going to just create a layout for this. Boom, layout. Image is going to be, well, we don't need this. I'm going to say that this would be the main. I'm just trying to analyze how we do this, right? So where's this one? Okay, these are the different frames. This is the image. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to create a layout. Oh. Where's this one? Okay, this is the image. Let's make this image as the layout. Boom. And let's put everything that was inside of this frame in this image stack and delete this. Perfect, that's what I wanted. This is going to be a frame. Let's create a component out of this. Oh, not a component, sorry. Here's not where we do the components yet. We're just going to create a stack out of this. So layout, boom. This would have to be fit content eventually. And this would have to go up and down. These would have to go to its own stack, going horizontally, and space between, right? Just like it is here, you can see that it's a space between. And for these cards, let's just make sure, let's just do one, and we can use that as a template for the other ones, so we don't have to repeat our work. So layout, we know that it's a layout, we know that it's left aligned, we know that there is some padding, about 20, and we know that the one is going to be by itself, but these two are going to be stacked together at the bottom, and then here it's going to be space between. And now we can just delete these and duplicate this 3 times, and then put this into a new stack called cards, and make this go like this. And this would have to be fill. Perfect, it is set to fill. But these cards would have to be set to fill as well. And this would have to be set to fit content. This would have to set to fill. And then we want to have some padding here, like this. And this would have to go inside this us, which, where is it? Us, here it is. So these two would go into its own stack, which would be called the top. And this one would go vertically aligned. And this image stack would have a radius of around 20 pixels. And this one would be top aligned, right? We're eventually going to use this, create a component out of this once we're done here, but yeah, so that's done. This one is pretty simple. I mean, let's just create a layout for each one. Let's put them all into a stack, and let's call it buttons. And let's lay it out like this. And for this one, I mean, this is kind of the same type of style as one that we saw recently. So it's kind of like this one. So we can just copy this or duplicate it like that. Just drag it down. And I'm going to just go like this. And then instead of the CMS, I'm just going to bring in this and add a stack to this. So before I add it to stack, I'm going to make sure that all of these guys are put together into their own stacks. So add stack. And then these two telephones have to have their own stack. So you just have to stack things together. That's basically it. Make this its own stack by going layout. Content. Fill. Now it's starting to look better. Just like this. And then emails together, and then the socials are together. Okay, so go back to Framer. Let's put the socials together. So these three, sorry, add stack going downwards. And making sure that everything is set to fill would look good. Each one of these would be going left aligned. This would have to be set to fill. Perfect. Now we have this, and let's make this a layout as well. Well, we have this project, this part. Oh, actually, we can just delete it. Stack, stack, stack. And then we have that bottom part as well. This can also be its own layout. And obviously start. And how is this? The distribution privacy policy goes at the very end. So we want this to be not start, but space between. And we want this to also go to the very end. And we want all of these things to be stacked together. So these three as one stack. Top. And let's just give it a padding of 30. So that it's all kind of, you know, consistent. And then we just stack everything that we see. So we stack everything. So this Riffmax, the creator of this template, let's put it into one stack. And then we put these into one stack as well. And it's all set to fill. And we put this here. We put this here. Okay. So we got something good going on. Actually, we want to put this outside, not here. And let's make this fill. Okay. So we got it looking good in the desktop view. Now we have to make sure that it's good in the other view. So as you can start seeing, some things are starting to not look fine. Okay, for this is okay. Now for this is not so good. Here's fine, I would say. Maybe we can add a little bit more height to this. We can put fit content. Add some padding at the top. Like something like 200. And make this fill. And here we would want this to go underneath each other and not so tall. Maybe 300. This would also go like this. And these guys would also go like this. And as you can see, things just start to, you know, collapse and work. So fill, right? So this is set to fill. So now you can start seeing things. We want this to go like this. This is still something that we gotta fix in terms of components, right? This one we can do like this. We can just select the parent thing and add some gap like so. Fit content, make this go downwards. Well, fit content first and then make it go downwards. And now the responsive design is looking better. It still might be some minor tweaks that we need to do, but in terms of, you know, it looking better, it is definitely looking better, right? So the next thing that we have to do is creating components for certain areas, right? So in this case, it would be the button, right? Because if we go back to our Chrome, to our main website, we have this button, which is kind of a clear button. We have this one with black and orange, and this one as well with the black and orange, right? So these two things we have to create. And there's also another component, which is this one, which is the nav bar. And creating the nav bar from scratch is a pain in the ass, I'm not gonna lie. So there are tools out there like Compa, for example, a free, you know, it has some really good free components that you can use for creating nav bars. I always say this on all my videos, and I think we're gonna be using that as well here. So with that being said, let's go ahead and create some components. So the first component would be the button. Okay, so for the components, we have to just select on a button and create the component. We're going to call this button. And we can use one component for the different buttons by creating variants. And I'm going to show you right now. So we have variant 1, which we're going to call main. And for this button, all we have to do is click on hover. So this would be the hover effect. So I can go here, take a screenshot of this, take it back to Framer, and use the color pick tool and choose this. So right now we have our basically a working button in terms of hover, right? But it's not done yet. We need to find a way to make this dynamic in a way that I can reuse this button everywhere. And because if I go back home and I'm trying to change the name of what it says here, it doesn't let me. So I have to create something called a variable, a plain text variable. So whenever someone writes here, if I click on this, I can write hello. It basically replaces it. But as you can see, if I write more things, the width doesn't really fit to the content of the button. So what I have to do is go back here and make sure that this is set to fit content and this is set to fit content. And yes, it looks crappy, but we have to basically just style this in a way that is similar to what we had in Webflow, which is something like this, right? So we have our hello, and it should now be set to that. I don't know why it's not. Oh, okay. It's not because it has to be set here to fit content and here to fit content as well. So now it is working. So if I put hello there, it's dynamic, it moves, it gets larger with the amount of content that I have. So I'm just gonna write something like get started and press on the play. And as you can see, it's starting to work. So we have that first button, but what about these? This is also a button that we want. So let's just analyze it. We have a solid border, 10%. It has a round radius of 64 and no fill. So what we can do is we can just get here, create variant 2. We're going to call this light. So this is a light button. And we're going to make this black. And we're going to make remove the background here. Actually, we're going to make it fill to black, but to 0. And I'm going to show you why shortly. And then the border, we're going to make it 1, but we're going to make it like 8%. Boom. And radius 64, perfect. Now we click on the hover, and the hover state of this one is going to be fill 8%, and the radius, the border, sorry, would be something like 16. And let's try to see how that looks like. So if I go here, nothing happens because this is still a stack. So let's just replace this with our project button. And let's go down here and switch this to light and put all projects, right? We had that written before. All projects. Let's press play and scroll down there. And you can start seeing that it works, right? So this is basically it. And for these guys, what you have to do is just hover over each stack. I would prefer that you do it here in the layers panel, and you can replace them with, well, go one by one, replace with project button, replace with project button, replace with project button, project button, and project button. And then select these 5 light, and then here you would just basically edit. So I think this one was careers, for example. This one would be contact, this one would be news, this one would be, I don't know, what else did we have here? Projects, about, okay. So projects and about. So that's basically it. That's how you would do that. And there's going to be some certain things, like for example, this hello@fortress.com. And what you would want to do is like select this text, and you would want to add a link to this. And here you would put your mail to, you know, google@gmail.com, whatever mail you have. And it automatically turns blue because that's like the style of the links, but we can make it, you know, black. And if you hover over it, it gets like this highlight. And we can try and test that out by going play. And now you can see that it's starting to work, right? All right. Now there will be cases in which you're transferring something from Webflow into Framer and there's no functionality, right? We did a thing with a button. We created a component and it has this hover effect. But what if you're trying to import a sign up form, right? Or a contact form or something like that. this is where it kind of gets tricky because you don't want to create stacks out of that. You want to go here in Framer, and Framer has these different form builders here. So you can just add in a form builder. Let's say that we want to integrate a form builder in our footer down here. We can just go ahead and add a form. We can create a fill, fill, and we can, we can edit certain fields here and send them to a Google spreadsheet or to your email or to some type of webhook, depending on what you want. And instead of a form, if you don't want to have like the classic contact form, you can add like a MailChimp integration here on the left side. So let me see where my form is. Here we go. We can add some type of MailChimp integration, and here you just have to put your URL and the redirect, which is basically like a new page that you would say, okay, when the person subscribes here, it will take us to a new page. So there's different types of functionality that you can add in Framer. There's Typeform, there's Calendly, there's HubSpot, FormSpark, Waitlist, ConvertKit, Loops, and more. So this is something that I kind of wanted to, talk to you guys about, because some of you might have these contact forms and, email forms where people, you're asking for people's emails, and that's how you do it in Framer. And now the next step here would be to actually create CMS pages. So we have CMS pages, projects, detail page. And then in this detail page would be the actual detail page of the project. You can already start seeing all of these different things. I'm going to delete that for now, and I'm going to go to my layers and open these different viewports. And what I want to do is, as a next step, right, would basically, if we select one of our detail pages here, we can again go ahead and use this tool to copy the layout. Boom, boom, and boom, and basically paste it to Framer, like so. And make sure that this is, again, set to 1200. But then each one of these in Framer, if you want to correctly link it to your project, you would have to go content set variable to title. And here, for example, this is the image. You want to go fill set variable to, where is it? It should be the image, cover image, main image, right? So this is just an example, right? So Atlas Tower would be different to Mission, or Mission will be different to Lansing. So these are all different. You just have to kind of make sure that everything is set to its layout. You put everything into stacks, right? You make everything set to fill, create stacks out of everything, give everything a fit content if it's in the height, for example, and link everything to its correct CMS variable. So that's it, guys. That's basically it. So basically adding a static page from Webflow by using that Chrome extension to add the static websites, and then creating a new CMS collection, adding the CMS collection here in the static website, and eventually linking these to their pages. So for example, this one would link to the Atlas Tower in San Francisco, and you just have to, style this page exactly the way that we styled this homepage. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. It's quite some work. There's no, quick way to migrate from Webflow to Framer, but this is kind of the workaround of how to do it. In my opinion, the best way of how to do it. So I hope this video helped you guys if you're, in this migration process. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to help. And yeah, hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you. Bye-bye.